Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Entrepreneurs Are with your host, Roderick Sims, also known as the Business Reality Coach. This interview series is for anyone that has an entrepreneurial spirit and is anywhere along their entrepreneurial journey. It's just going to be a loose conversation with entrepreneurs I know to talk about their journey and how they got to where they are and where they're going down the road. So again, anybody on the entrepreneurial journey will benefit from these conversations. So today, we have one of my longtime friends, Mr. Ced Nolen, uh, the founder of Ced Nolen Productions, here to talk to about his entrepreneurial journey. But before we get into the full-blown conversation like we normally do, I'm going to turn it over to Ced to give us a brief introduction. Ced?
Man, Rod, hey man, appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's just a good time, man, for entrepreneurs, man. And I've always looked up to you, Rod, as you already know, man. You've always been a great guy. You know, you're my club, you're my frat, and you're my golfing buddy, man. So I've always inspired, to be, kind of like you in a sense, man. You've inspired me to become, the man who I am today, man. So I thank you for allowing me, to give my story, if you will, to the world, and hopefully one can learn and get some nuggets, from this conversation to be able, to catapult, their entrepreneurial spirit or entrepreneurial path as well. So, as Rod said, my name is Ced P. Nolen, founder CEO of Ced Nolen Productions. That is my main, I guess you could say, my main focus right now as I move forward within my entrepreneurial journey. So Ced Nolen Productions has been in existence for almost 2 years now. I went, solo, if you will. I've always worked with my brother, exec producing his movies and his films and his TV shows, and producing his TV shows as well for well over 20 plus years. And so, we had a conversation, and as he continues to move up the business or the executive ladder, he said, "Well, Ced, I want you to carry on, the spirit that we kind of built together." And so that's when I branched off and created my own production company, Ced Nolen Productions, and we've been doing very well, thus far. Have a lot of projects that's on the horizon. But we'll talk about that as the conversation continues further. But that's me in a nutshell. I've been in the TV film business for over 20 years. So this is something that is a passion of mine, because it's just something that I like to get out. We want to be able to get out our own content to the world, and the only people that can tell our story are the ones that have lived the story. And so that was one of my main focus, to make sure that I began this particular path, if you will. So that's me in a nutshell, Rod. You know me, I'm a golfer, avid golfer. You know,
Yeah.
family man, if you will. Big brother. Just I'm a good friend to one. Very loyal. That's me. That's
All
me,
right,
Rod.
man. Well, that's a lot more to you than that, man. But I'm not going to throw you out there between the entertainment production stuff that you've done and the cigar brands you got going on. But hey, we'll save that for later on, man, or another day
Absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
that entrepreneur spirit. But with that being the case, man, let's jump into these questions that I had listed out here, man, for you.
Good.
And the first one here, man, as I ask all my people I interview, is, man, when did you know that entrepreneurship was the right path for you?
Well, I probably knew the entrepreneur path was right for me about, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago.
Okay.
I've worked the 9 to 5 before, very heavy in that game. Went to the top of the food chain in that career path. And what I really wanted to do was that I wanted to be the ones to sign the checks.
Okay.
instead of being the ones to receive the signed checks, if that makes any sense to you or makes it any sense to anyone else.
Right.
Because one can be rich, but the ones that sign your checks are the wealthy ones. So
Right.
they're wealthier than you. And so I want to be that individual. I always want to have ownership. I always wanted to make sure that I had generational wealth. Because by building your own and making sure that you own everything that you do, it really lines into your generations that come after you, and that is something that one can say that my dad, my granddad, my great granddad did this, and now we're carrying on the vision that he set for us to really take over in a sense. So that was really my entry point to entrepreneurship, because I wanted to be the one that signs the checks instead of being the one that receives the signed checks.
Okay. Fantastic. Hey man, that's great. I think a lot of people get to that point as well, but I mean, people do entrepreneurship for various reasons, as we've talked about before. But was there one day, was there one moment in time, was there one opportunity you saw when you said, you know what, I'm about to do this on my own? Was there ever, 20 years ago, was there that moment? Or did you just wake up
Absolutely.
one day and just say, hey, I'm gonna do this?
Absolutely, because I knew I could do it.
Okay.
I knew that I can be a Sam Walton. I knew I could be, the Microsoft guy.
Right.
I knew I could be, the Amazon guy. I knew I could be those individuals. So it might have, come when I was working my 9 to 5,
Okay.
and it was a light bulb, for me to say, you know what, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I have to be able, to have multiple irons in the fire
Okay.
to be able to be a wealthy individual. And so I just think that when I began, doing real estate,
Okay.
developing on the side, that was, an entrepreneur,
Right.
spirit of business, because that was man-made for me, created by myself, and I had to be able to run that business by myself.
Okay.
And so I just think that was an entry point. I also, was in the entertainment game for a long time, ever since I was 16 years old.
Right.
Planning events for
Okay.
one another. And the one thing that really, sparked that was my birthday parties. And you've been to those events before, and those are always classy events. So that's another brand within my brand as well. Being able to be a individual that creates events for myself and others, and also being almost like a concierge to the individuals that might come to town, the basketball
Right.
players or the athletes, period, or just the actors and actresses, or whatever the case may be. So that was a time, and I was like 20, when I was like 18, 19, 20 years of age. I said to myself, I need more irons in the fire. And so let me build my business here, so that way it can flourish as time continues to progress. So that was around that time when I was, really coming into my own. I was still a kid at being
Right.
18, 19, 20. I was still a kid really at 21. But I knew that I wanted something. I wanted more for myself. I didn't want to be at someone's mercy, at
Right.
someone's will. Because that's what happens when you work for others. You have
Right.
someone's will, but when you work for yourself, you're in no one's will. Okay,
Right.
you're able to create, your what your dream is. You're able to create and make that happen for yourself as far as and as long as you can. Yeah, you might have to count on others to invest in you, if you will, per se. But I've always invested in myself. I took my 9 to 5 to invest in myself, into my other ventures as an entrepreneur.
Okay. Fantastic. So man, what I heard you say there is, man, you saw that you got into the game early when you're around 16 doing the promotions.
Absolutely.
And that was really that onset of like, man, I can do this on my own. I can generate money based on what I want to do on myself.
Absolutely.
So you basically been in the game a while now. We're not gonna throw out ages. But
I've been in a while. I've been in a
right,
while.
been in a while. So it goes back to you being a teenager. So
Yeah.
that's good stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. I appreciate that insight, man. Because like I said before, people catch it at different places. Like I think I caught it later in life, that entrepreneurial spirit. You caught it earlier. I'm a big believer. The earlier, the better. So as a nurturer, you can get out there and try your hands at different things, make mistakes, learn from the different entrepreneurial endeavors, and you just keep stacking those those learning experiences on each other to get to the point where that last venture is each venture becomes bigger and bigger and better. Each entrepreneurial endeavor becomes bigger and bigger and better because of your past experience. So man, you've been building this since 16, so that's why your entrepreneurial endeavors always turn out on the right end, man, because you've been in this game for a minute.
Thank you, man. I'm also blessed, man. God has blessed me. He's
Hey,
continued to bless me. Everything that I've prayed for, He's given to me in His time. So
right.
I've learned to be patient, and
Yes.
that's one thing about being an entrepreneur. It's not going to come overnight. You're not going to be an overnight success. It takes work, and it takes relationship building, and it takes patience to get to where one really wants to be.
Right. Fantastic, man. I appreciate that. All right, sir. Let's move to that next question here. This is the Entrepreneurs Hour show, right? And I always have this here: entrepreneurs are rock stars. I believe it. You got to be a rock star to be successful as an entrepreneur. And then when you make all these accomplishments, you are a rock star based on all the stuff that you have to go through to get there. So I'm going to ask you to finish the statement. So Ced, finish the statement for me. Entrepreneurs are
leaders.
Yes,
Entrepreneurs are leaders. And leaders aren't made. Leaders are born.
Okay.
So entrepreneurs are born too. So it all goes hand in hand. I just really think that, yes, you have to work at it, but it's also a skill and a talent that you've been blessed with. And one has to really find that within their soul to be able to really get it out. Because one may be the biggest entrepreneur that the world has ever seen, but if they never tap into that talent or that skill, it'll never ever come out. So entrepreneurs are indeed leaders.
Hey man, I agree with you wholeheartedly with that. I know we both have backgrounds in leadership positions for organizations.
Yes.
And I know that that experience has helped me out a lot, even in my own entrepreneurial endeavors, man. Even people who I've spoken to, I work with my own clients. That experience that they've had, organization tends to benefit them tremendously. But to your point also, man, if you're going to scale and really grow something big as an entrepreneur, you have to have a team of individuals, right? And that team is going to need a leader, right? And if you're not a leader, how's the team going to grow? How's your business going to grow and develop and expand to be what it really needs to be? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big believer in telling the people, I say, you can make a business where it's only you. You can be a solopreneur, as they say.
Yep.
You're the only person in the business, but you're still going to have to maybe hire an independent contractor here or hire a consultant here, or you're going to have to get some different vendors and services. You're still going to have to lead a team, even though they may not be your employees.
Right.
As an entrepreneur, you're going to have to still lead teams of people to get to your end game. So I'm definitely in agreement with you on that, man. Let me ask you this question: as far as from a leadership standpoint, man, what do you feel, based on your past leadership experience, has benefited your entrepreneurship journey the most?
Well, I think that being a past leader in my past career has definitely helped this journey because a wise individual told me that leaders, if you are able to get people to work for you for free and work really hard for you for free, that's when you know that you are a natural born leader. And so I'm going to go back to my education foundation that I built, that I created since 2005. So we've been, sending kids to college ever since then. And I had a board of directors, and no one was getting paid because this was a for profit.
Right.
And everything that we did get, it went to the foundation to go towards the scholarships that we gave the children. And they worked for free, really hard to make my vision, come to fruition. And so by being a leader in my past career, if you will, and being able to build solid relationships, and also being able to have that, one would say, the gift of gab. Being able, to really develop individuals, know how to talk to people instead of talking at them, talk with them.
Right.
Okay. Being able to create certain things along with them, because I'm not a boss. A boss is a slang term now that, hey, we a boss. No,
Right.
I'm a leader because I'm in the trenches with my team. A boss just dictates. I don't
Right.
dictate. I work. We work together for the common goal. And so I really believe that me being a top decorated, successful leader in my past career has allowed me to really become a successful entrepreneur in every venture, every endeavor that I set, to embark on. So I just really think that those that skill set and that talent and that hard work and grit that I have, within me, it really determined how successful I would be. And I really wanted, to be extremely successful in everything that I did. So, that those teachings and those learnings and those implementations and those executions have really, favored me into becoming a successful entrepreneur to this date.
Right. I even recommend to some of the entrepreneurs I know, if they never had a leadership position, I'm like, hey, take a leadership course just so you can get acclimated to what it will take to be able to lead and motivate and influence and coach up and down. All the things we've learned, been paid for by these organizations. That we got for free. I guess we said got it for free. We worked for it, but that they may not have. But I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly, because at the end of the day, my experience is when you run an organization is 75% of the work is leading your people.
Absolutely.
If not even more, because you're not doing the technical work anymore.
Right.
Your job is leading the team, motivating, influencing, encouragement, coaching,
right,
discipline sometimes, that whole piece.
So that comes with the territory.
Comes with the territory. So yeah, man, entrepreneurs are leader, most definitely, sir. Thank you for that, man. That's a great. Next up, man, let's talk about an entrepreneurship fact. Since you've had several endeavors, I think you'll be able to speak on this a little bit. So the fact is, because I like to talk about the facts, me being a reality coach, I don't like going back and forth a lot of times about what if, what is. So my focus is more about, let's talk about tangible things that we know are true.
That's right.
And so this is a fact. And this fact is the success rate for entrepreneurs with their first venture, their first opportunity, their first business, however you want to format it or frame it, is only 18%. When you hear that, Ced, what's your thoughts about that based on your experience and what you've seen out in the entrepreneurial world?
Well, I thought it was lower than that, actually, because you don't sometimes get it right all the time the first time out the gate.
Correct. Right.
Okay, it takes you multiple times to fail, and not being afraid to fail.
Right.
We weren't given the spirit of fear. We weren't given the spirit of failure, and so when one introduces their product to the world, and they're not getting the bites or the feedback that they would like for them to be successful and move on, they drop. And I think they drop it and they never come back to it. So I really thought that number was actually lower. And I'm glad you gave that fun fact, because like I said, previously, that when one is unsuccessful in their first, ride out the gate, they tend to, put it to rest and say that they can't do it.
Right.
And that's something that one should not do. If it's a strong product, and you feel strongly about it, you're passionate and compassionate about it, then don't be afraid to fail, and
Right.
just make sure that you continue, to get out your dream, if you will. And that's a very alarming number, actually. To be honest with you, that's an alarming number for it to be 18%, of the success rate. Wow.
Yeah.
But that's like I said, that's alarming to
Mhm.
me. But like I said, I thought it would be lower because of first time entrepreneurs. If they're not as successful as they thought that they would be,
Right.
they tend to put it to rest and never pick it up again. So wow, good fact
Yeah.
though.
Hey, man. Well, I appreciate that, man. That's what we're about, the facts, man. But what I heard you say, man, that really resonated. I think people should really hear is that you can't be afraid to fail. As I tell people a lot of times when I coach them, like, I'm a reality. I'm like, these are the numbers, these are the facts.
Right.
And if I scare you from being an entrepreneur, then you shouldn't have been one in the first place, right?
There you
Because
go.
it's the nature, right? If this scares you, if this fact scares you, then you don't need to be an entrepreneur in the first place.
You're right.
Because in reality, there's a greater chance your first endeavor, you're going to fail than be successful. That's just the facts, right? Neither
Facts.
here nor there. It's the reality behind it, right?
Yes.
But the goal is to keep building on, like when I talk about you, build on each of the failures till you become successful. I like to make sports analogies, man, as we talk a lot of times.
Absolutely.
It's like trying to hit a golf ball. You didn't hit the golf ball the first time you swung at it.
Sure didn't.
It's just like being an entrepreneur. It might be it's a different level. Maybe you're invested a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
it takes a lot of swings sometimes to hit that ball the first time.
Sure
That's sometimes how it is as an entrepreneur. You got to take a couple swings at it, to be successful.
Yeah.
What I try to help entrepreneurs understand is let's make that first venture. Let's take off a small piece of it. Let's not invest your whole fortune in your first endeavor. Let's balance this out a little bit. Let's not fully launch. Let's prove your concept. For example, I think which is a great idea people do now is instead of opening a restaurant and getting a 5-year lease and it not work out, well, hey, why don't you get a food truck? And if it doesn't work out, you can always sell the food truck to somebody else.
Sure can.
And you can move around.
Right.
That type of thing. Or hey, start doing pop-up dinners, different places, to see if people like the food, what you're doing, get feedback, build a buzz before you just straight invest your whole life savings into a restaurant and it doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Let's not that be your end all be all.
That's
That can end your entrepreneurial endeavor. So yeah, you got to start, and you can't be scared to start that restaurant, but hey, let's be smart in taking some steps to get you there first.
Absolutely.
To prove your concept. But to your point, you can't be afraid to be an entrepreneur, man. You can't be afraid to fail. And that 18%, like I said, to your point, yeah, it can be alarming. A lot of people look at it like, man, that's not disappointing. It's scary. But hey, nothing worthwhile. Everything worthwhile. Yeah, put it this way: everything worthwhile requires some hard work and some risk.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And so you got to be willing to do that. The higher the risk, the higher the reward, and all the cliches.